Everything changed at my cousin's baby shower. Max and Denise slipped out. I saw my husband with my sister-in-law behind the gifts. My world didn't just collapse, it imploded. Could you ever look at your family the same way after something like that? It was June 2025. Sacramento was baking under a relentless sun, and my cousin Sarah's backyard was crammed with people, all celebrating the impending arrival of little Lily. A bounce house, garishly pink, dominated one corner, and the air hummed with the drone of happy chatter, punctuated by the occasional shriek of a delighted child. I was supposed to be enjoying myself, sipping lemonade, admiring the ridiculous number of pastel-colored balloons. But I couldn't shake this nagging feeling, this unease that had settled in my stomach like a stone. Max, my husband, was acting odd, distant. He kept glancing at Denise, his sister, more than he should have been. Denise, with her perpetually bored expression and perfectly styled blonde hair, was usually glued to her phone, radiating an aura of indifference. But today, she seemed different. Flustered, maybe? Or was it just my imagination running wild? I tried to dismiss it, to tell myself I was being paranoid. But then I saw them. Or rather, I didn't see them. They were gone, vanished from the throng of well-wishers. Max had been talking to my Uncle George about baseball just moments before, and Denise was supposedly helping Sarah's mom organize the diaper raffle. Now poof, my heart started to pound. I excused myself from a conversation about baby names, the sweet, cloying scent of baby powder suddenly suffocating me. I scanned the yard, trying to appear casual, my eyes darting between groups of people. No Max, no Denise. Then a flicker of movement caught my eye. Behind the mountain of exquisitely wrapped gifts, stacked high against the back fence, a shadow, a flash of Max's blue shirt. A glimpse of Denise's blonde hair. My breath hitched. I told myself there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe they were just chatting, catching up. But the way they were positioned, the hushed urgency in the air, it felt wrong. I started walking towards them, my pace quickening with each step. The bounce house, with its cacophony of squeals and laughter, faded into background noise. The aroma of barbecue, normally so appealing, now made my stomach churn. Rounding the corner of the gift pile, I saw them, Max and Denise, standing close, too close. Denise's hand was on Max's arm. His face was flushed, his eyes wide with what? Guilt? Fear? And the look on Denise's face was even worse, a mix of triumph and panic. They both jumped apart when they saw me, like teenagers caught making out in a parking lot. "What's going on here?" I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. Max stammered, "Nothing. We were just talking." Denise, ever the cool one, tried to play it off. "Yeah, we were just discussing Sarah's gift registry." The lie hung heavy in the air. We all knew it was a lie. There was no way they were talking about baby registries. The tension was thicker than the humidity. Could they really think I would believe them? I didn't press it then, not wanting to cause a scene at my cousin's baby shower. But the image of them, caught red-handed, was seared into my mind. That was the moment my life began to unravel. What would you have done in my place? Would you have confronted them then and there? The rest of the shower passed in a blur. I forced myself to smile, to make small talk, to pretend everything was normal. But inside, I was a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, confusion, betrayal, and a deep, gnawing sense of dread. I watched Max and Denise like a hawk, cataloging every glance, every gesture, every whispered word. They avoided each other for the rest of the afternoon, but the damage was done. That night, after the shower, after we'd helped Sarah clean up the confetti and discarded wrapping paper, I couldn't sleep. Max lay beside me, his breathing deep and even, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil raging inside me. I got out of bed and went downstairs, needing some air, needing some space to think. I wandered into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. The house was quiet, only the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of crickets breaking the silence. As I stood there, staring out the window into the darkness, I remembered something Denise had said earlier that day. Something about donating to a local children's charity in Sarah's name. It was a nice gesture, I'd thought at the time, but now a seed of suspicion began to sprout in my mind. I recalled Denise mentioning she'd collected cash donations at the shower, promising to write a check and provide everyone with a tax receipt. Something felt off. I found their number online and dialed, my hand trembling slightly. A cheerful woman answered, and I explained that I was a guest at Sarah's baby shower and that Denise had supposedly made a donation in our names. "I'm so sorry, but we don't have any record of a donation from Denise under the baby shower party name, or even anyone affiliated with Sarah's name," the woman said, her voice apologetic. "Are you sure she donated with us?" My blood ran cold. $3,300 had been collected in cash and checks. Where had that money gone? My pulse quickened. This wasn't just about Max and Denise sneaking off behind the gifts anymore. This was about something much bigger, something much darker. I hung up the phone, my head spinning. I had to find out what was going on. That afternoon, while Max was at work and Denise was supposedly running errands, I decided to do some investigating. I started with Denise's purse. I know it was a breach of privacy, but I felt like I had no choice. I needed to know the truth. Her purse was a black leather tote, overflowing with the usual assortment of things. Makeup, a wallet, a half-eaten granola bar. I rummaged through it carefully, trying not to disturb anything. Then, at the bottom, buried beneath a pile of receipts, I found it. A small stack of donation receipts, each bearing the name of the charity I had called that morning. But something was off. The handwriting looked different, sloppier, and the amounts were all the same. $100. Every single receipt. It was a perfect forgery. I saw a donation receipt under the name of my aunt and uncle, but they had mentioned giving more than $100. My heart sank. Denise had forged the donation receipts. But why? Where was the money? How could she stoop so low, stealing from a charity, using Sarah's baby shower as a cover? I felt sick. I needed more evidence. I decided to check Denise's bank statements. I knew it was a long shot, but I had to try. I remembered she had left her laptop on the kitchen table the other day when she visited. Later that evening, after Max had gone to bed, I crept downstairs. The house was silent. The only sound the gentle ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I found Denise's laptop on the kitchen table, just as I remembered. I hesitated for a moment, my conscience nagging at me. Was I really going to do this? But the image of Max and Denise behind the gifts, the forged donation receipts, the missing money, it all fueled my determination. I opened the laptop and waited for it to boot up. It was password protected, of course. I tried a few obvious guesses, her birthday, her dog's name, but nothing worked. I felt a surge of frustration. I was so close, yet so far. Then I remembered something Max had told me a few weeks ago. He'd mentioned that Denise always used the same password for everything, her childhood nickname. I typed it in, Dee Dee, and held my breath. The screen flickered, and then miraculously, the laptop unlocked. I navigated to her online banking portal, my fingers trembling as I typed in her username and password. There it was, a recent transaction, a withdrawal of $3,300, the exact amount of the baby shower donations. The description simply read, cash. My stomach dropped. I had proof. Denise had stolen the money. I copied all the information, took screenshots, and then carefully closed the laptop, erasing my browsing history. I felt a strange mix of relief and disgust. I had uncovered the truth, but the truth was uglier than I could have ever imagined. How could I trust her now? I called her and asked her to meet me for coffee. She seemed hesitant, but eventually agreed. We met at a small cafe downtown, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. The cafe was buzzing with activity, people chatting and laughing. oblivious to the tension simmering between me and Denise. "So," Denise said, stirring her latte, "what did you want to talk about?" I took a deep breath. "I know about the money, Denise. The baby shower donations. I know you stole it." Her face paled. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "I saw the bank statement," I continued, my voice trembling slightly. "The withdrawal, the forged donation receipts. I know everything." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Okay, fine," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I took the money, but I had my reasons." "Reasons?" I exclaimed, my voice rising. "What possible reason could you have for stealing from a children's charity?" She hesitated for a moment, then blurted out, "I needed it. I'm in debt, okay? I have credit card bills, student loans. I was desperate." I stared at her in disbelief. "So you decided to steal from a charity? That's your solution?" "I was going to pay it back," she insisted, her voice cracking. "I swear, I was just going to borrow it temporarily." I didn't believe her. I knew Denise. She was selfish and entitled. She would never have paid it back. I saw the guilt written all over her face. "What about Max?" I asked, my voice low and dangerous. "Was he involved in this?" Denise shook her head vehemently. "No, Max had nothing to do with it. He doesn't even know." I studied her face, trying to gauge whether she was telling the truth. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the image of them together behind the gifts. My gut twisted. "Then why were you two sneaking around at the baby shower?" I demanded. "Why were you behind the gifts, looking guilty?" Denise's eyes darted around the cafe, avoiding my gaze. "We were just talking. He was just giving me some advice about my finances." Another lie. I could feel it. But I didn't press her. I knew I wouldn't get the truth out of her that easily. I had no idea if she was telling the truth or not. "You need to return the money, Denise," I said, my voice firm. "Every single penny. And you need to tell Sarah what you did." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I will," she said. "I promise." I didn't know if I believed her, but I decided to give her a chance. I needed to see if she would do the right thing. I gave her 1 week. As I walked away from the cafe, I felt a sense of unease wash over me. I had confronted Denise. I had exposed her lies. But the whole situation felt unfinished. There were still too many unanswered questions. A few days later, I received a strange package in the mail. It was a small, unmarked box with no return address. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside, nestled among layers of tissue paper, was a note. The note was written in block letters, scrawled on a piece of cheap paper. It read, "Stay out of it, or you'll regret it." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about stolen money anymore. This was about something much more sinister. Someone was threatening me. I showed the note to Max, my hands trembling. He was furious. He wanted to call the police immediately. "We can't," I said. "Not yet. I need to find out who sent this." I had a feeling it was connected to Denise, but I couldn't be sure. Maybe she'd roped someone else into her scheme. Or maybe someone else knew about her theft and was trying to silence me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak and groan of the house sounded like a threat. I kept imagining someone lurking outside, watching me. I needed to know who she was talking to, who she was meeting with. I needed to find out who was behind the threatening note. I waited outside her apartment building, parked a block away, my heart pounding in my chest. After what seemed like an eternity, I saw her emerge, dressed in a black hoodie and sunglasses. Trying to be discreet, I followed her in my car, keeping a safe distance. She drove to a seedy part of town, an area I had never been to before. She parked in front of a run-down bar and went inside. I waited for a few minutes, then cautiously approached the bar. I peered through the grimy windows, trying to see inside. The bar was dimly lit, filled with rough-looking characters. I saw Denise sitting at a table in the back, talking to a man with a shaved head and a menacing glare. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could tell the conversation was intense. The man kept leaning in close to Denise, his voice low and threatening. I felt a surge of panic. Denise was in over her head. She had gotten mixed up with the wrong people. I decided to go inside. I knew it was risky, but I couldn't leave her there alone. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The bar went silent as I walked in. All eyes turned to me, their expressions hostile and suspicious. I tried to appear confident, but my legs were shaking. I walked towards Denise, my heart pounding in my chest. The man with the shaved head turned to me, his eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" he growled. "I'm a friend of Denise's," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I need to talk to her." The man hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. "Fine," he said, "but make it quick." I pulled up a chair and sat down beside Denise. She looked terrified. "What's going on, Denise?" I whispered. "Who is this guy?" Denise didn't answer. She just stared at the table, her eyes filled with fear. "He's a friend," the man said, his voice menacing. "We're just having a little chat." I didn't believe him. I knew he was lying. He was involved in Denise's scheme, and he was dangerous. "We need to leave," I said to Denise, grabbing her arm. "Now." The man stood up, blocking our path. "Where do you think you're going?" he said, his voice low and threatening. "We're leaving," I said, my voice firm. "Get out of our way." The man hesitated for a moment, then stepped aside. He knew he couldn't stop us without causing a scene. I grabbed Denise's hand and pulled her out of the bar. We ran to my car and sped away, leaving the man standing there, glaring after us. Once we were safely away, I pulled over to the side of the road. Denise was crying, her body shaking with fear. "What was that all about, Denise?" I demanded. "Who was that man?" "Denise. He's a loan shark," she sobbed. "I borrowed money from him to pay off my debts, but I couldn't pay him back, so he started threatening me." I stared at her in disbelief. She had borrowed money from a loan shark? This was getting worse and worse. "And did this loan shark tell you to send me the threatening message?" I asked, incredulous. "Yes," Denise said softly. "He thought you'd snitch to the police. I didn't want him to, but he said he'd hurt me. Or Max." I was scared. "You have to go to the police, Denise," I said. "You have to tell them everything. He won't stop until he gets his money." Denise shook her head. "I can't," she said. "He'll kill me." "He'll kill you anyway if you don't go to the police," I said. "You have no choice." I managed to convince Denise to go to the police. She told them everything, about the stolen money, about the loan shark, about the threats. The police launched an investigation, and they were able to arrest the loan shark. They also recovered most of the stolen money. Denise was charged with theft and fraud, but she received a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation. The whole ordeal was a nightmare. It tore our family apart. Max was devastated. He couldn't believe his own sister would do something like that. Our relationship was strained. I could not see Max in the same way anymore. The image of Max and Denise behind the gift pile haunted me. How could I ever truly trust him again? Was he truly innocent? The baby shower was 6 months ago. I still find myself thinking about it. About Max, about Denise, about the stolen money, about the threats. In the end, I chose forgiveness. I forgave Denise, not because she deserved it, but because I needed to move on with my life. I couldn't let her actions consume me. Max and I are still together. We're working on rebuilding our trust, one day at a time. It's not easy, but we're committed to making it work. Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby girl, Lily, and she's the sunshine in everyone's lives, especially with all the drama that's come and gone. The money was returned, and Denise is on probation, trying to pick up the pieces of her broken life. I learned a valuable lesson through all of this. Family is complicated. People you think you know can surprise you, and not always in a good way. But ultimately, it's your choices that define you. You have the power to choose forgiveness over revenge, to choose hope over despair. So what would you do? Would you have gone to the police? Would you have forgiven them? Or would you have sought revenge? Write what you would choose. And if you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe for more true crime dramas. Thank you. There was a lingering chill after the storm settled. My Aunt Sarah's mother had the most difficult time. She loved Denise like a daughter, always praising her accomplishments and defending her flaws. To learn of this was devastating. During one visit, I found her staring at the baby's crib, a vacant look in her eyes. She even fooled me, my aunt whispered, more to herself than to me. Duh. I thought she was such a good person. What do you say to someone when they've had their illusions shattered? I squeezed her hand, offering a silent comfort. Words seemed inadequate. The house felt haunted by Denise's ghost. Her absence was palpable, a constant reminder of the betrayal. Max tried to be supportive, but I could sense a wall building between us. He avoided talking about Denise, as if mentioning her name would conjure her back into our lives. One evening, I was sifting through old photos when I stumbled upon a picture of Max and Denise as children. They were grinning, their arms wrapped around each other, a picture of innocent sibling affection. I felt a pang of jealousy, a silly, irrational feeling. They had a history, a bond that I could never truly understand. As the weeks turned into months, I started to notice subtle changes in Max's behavior. He became more withdrawn, spending more time at work, coming home late with excuses about demanding projects. I wanted to trust him, but doubt gnawed at me. One Saturday, Max said he was going to play golf with his friends. He kissed me goodbye, his eyes avoiding mine. Something felt off. I decided to follow him. I know, it sounds crazy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. I trailed his car from a distance, my heart pounding in my chest. He drove to a part of town I wasn't familiar with. My breath hitched. What was he doing here? I parked across the street, watching him through my binoculars. He got out of the car and walked towards one of the rooms, his head down, his shoulders slumped. Then the door opened. And there she was. Denise. My world tilted. I watched, paralyzed, as Max and Denise embraced. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their body language spoke volumes. They were close, intimate, too close. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. It was happening again. The betrayal, the lies, the deceit. I started the car and drove away, tears streaming down my face.